I'm Peter Michaels. I'm 21 years old and I'm the owner of Founded Vintage. I've always admired Barbara's shop, Eugene Jeans, and she focuses on affordably priced vintage, and she's been doing that for about 30 years now. She focuses mostly on women's stuff, and I wanted to do kind of a men's version of that and focus specifically on vintage stuff. And yeah, we like to find everything ourselves here too, and that's kind of part of the allure, is like you'll never know what you get because like it's just what we find. It's not like we're just like going out and buying the same t-shirts every day. It's all gonna be different stuff every time you come in. I started reselling when I was 14 on Depop. I would go to like flea markets, thrift stores, stuff like that, and I would just kind of put it up, and I was just trying to build a following, not really make any money on it. It was just something that I followed a bunch of people on Instagram who did it, and I saw they did it full time for their jobs, and I thought that that's what I wanted to do in the world. I moved up to Portland for college. I dropped out after one trimester. I was working in a warehouse and living in a studio apartment with 2 other people, and I just decided that wasn't the way for me, and I quit my job. I had about $1,000 in my back pocket, just started going to the bins every day on my bike. I had like a backpacking bag. I would just stay in there for like 8 hours a day, fill it up with stuff, bike back home, post it online. Eventually I started doing markets, and there was one down the street from me. I would use like this little cart and I would roll everything down and set up, and it slowly became my full-time job. I would say the progression from being online only to having a physical store involved a lot of the markets and building a name for myself, and that became really important to me over the years, is just, you know, creating relationships with people and making sure that items find the right home. There's certain folks who will come in and not buy anything, but we'll have a 2-hour conversation every time, and like those are my favorite folks, you know, because we've really become like friends through that, and like it's a really cool like community thing, you know.
My name is Angelina. I'm 20 and I'm an employee here at Founded, and I was actually the first employee to be hired.
My name is Jackson Mangum. I am 22 as of a few days ago, and I am one of 4 associates at Founded Vintage.
My name is Dylan Squires. I turned 21 last October, and I'm a store clerk alongside my other coworkers. When Peter's not here, we hold down the ship. And I also do some of the graphics for our promotional stuff. Well, sustainable fashion is really important to all of us in Founded. You see people doing like $1,000 Shein hauls, and you really wonder how much of that is being shipped on recycling barges overseas within the next year.
Sustainable fashion is super important. I mean, it's like being in like a time where like there's so much like fast fashion, and like trend cycles just happen so fast. It's definitely, I mean, it's obviously like contributed so much like pollution and waste, and it's really terrible. So
I think that vintage clothing itself has a bunch of history behind it. Everything has a story.
You can't help but wonder, like, the people who've worn it, the people who have added onto it, customized it. I don't know. It's cool. It's a more full circle way of thinking about the way we live. As an employee, my biggest priority is supporting Peter.
I guess just like being like a reflection of like Pete's energy.
I would say finding ways to be helpful and support the operation.
My biggest priority for Founded Vintage as of right now is just keeping this energy and this vibe that we have in the store always at a high level. Just keep people smiling when they come in, you know, make them feel welcome. Definitely always on the most fire tunes.
I would say that I think about the store as in terms of like what I would like to see as a 16-year-old when I was super stoked on vintage, and like what I would want to see walking into a store. And I try to have $5 items, $10 items, all the way up to, you know, a couple $100 items, so that like there's cool stuff to look at, but simultaneously there's stuff that's affordable for everyone. And like secondhand fashion, although it's sustainable and although it can be hard to come across sometimes, the good stuff at least, I don't think that it should be gate-kept by money, and I don't think that it should be something that's only accessible to people with a bunch of money. I think that it should be available for everybody, you know. I would say that I have a few long-term goals for Founded. I want to start doing more community events, you know, putting on concerts and stuff like that. I also want to open like a vintage mall, but people like rent booths and then maybe they'll like get like a percentage taken out on top of that. And I think that something like that would be a really good way for local resellers who don't have the means to open a shop themselves can find a way to get in and, you know, create more of like a community hub. Yeah, so we have a flea market coming up on June 11th. It's gonna have 2 DJs, a couple bands, food, alcohol, 25 vendors, vintage clothing anywhere from like early 2000s stuff to like true vintage stuff is in pre-1970s. We also will have people selling their art, crafts, all that kind of stuff. And it's gonna be at the Glass Pavilion where the new farmer's market is. Founded vintage to the moon.
Let's go.
Yeah, thanks guys.